Well, first of all, thank you for doing this podcast. I know we've been meaning to do this for a while.
Longest time. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The purpose for my podcast is to have real conversations in the realm of health. I specifically have been doing a lot more into the type 2 diabetes and pre-diabetes, uh, but I would love to learn a lot more on the T1D as well, type 1 diabetes, even though it's a smaller proportion of diabetics in general. But I think when you focus on person to person, on their life,
Yeah.
it becomes far too important to
Yeah.
understand from one person's experience. And the goal really is, I think that there's so much advice out there, there's so much research from labs and
Mm.
science, but having a real person conversation makes it easier for other people to connect and also to understand unique challenges that come with it, right? So Anuruddhi, let's get started. Maybe we start from where you are right now, and we'll figure a way to go back in time to when it all started for you. But let's start with why do you do what you do? Obviously, you have an Instagram page that you post a lot of type 1 diabetes content. Why is it
Yeah.
important to you?
I think from a personal journey, I felt so when I discovered this platform, I felt that I was alone. I had nobody to guide me, to, teach me. Whatever I've learned till today, I think from my own experiences, I've figured my way out. So that was just a platform to rant out. Like, because I think I was so stuffed with all these things and like emotionally, physically, and I had nobody to talk to. So I felt that maybe Instagram could help me with that. So I started with writing articles about my own, like, diagnosis journey and like how I dealt with depression and all of that. And then I started posting it on Instagram. And that's when I realized that there is a whole community out there. There are so many like me. And if I am feeling like this, they must be feeling like that too. So when I started posting and people started relating with my content, I that gave me a push. That gave me a push to keep doing it. Later on, it pushed me to do psychology so that I can really understand, how they are dealing with this because I very well know what it is like to be living with type 1. So I thought psychology would be an add-on, would be like a plus point for me to like interact with these people and help me at that stage when I did not have any help. So I think that motivated me to be doing this, create my own page, share my uh, personal journey and everyday ups and downs. And yeah, I think that is it. I think I just wanted to keep doing this for the community and like to help younger adults, like younger people, younger than me. And like there are parents also coming in and asking me who have like small children with, recently diagnosed DMD. So I think I just built my own little community with Instagram. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, that's awesome. I mean, I think if more of us could take what we are doing specifically and share our own journeys, that would be helpful, relatable as well.
yeah,
In your conversations that you've had with, the people who've who have similar journeys or otherwise going through type 1 diabetes, what are something that, where when you're having those conversations, you're like, okay, I've been there, I've felt it, and what are some of the things that you're also learning from others as well? So basically, what are some similarities and something that, as you're diving more into these conversations, you get to see a different perspective, a different approach as well to living with type 1 diabetes and managing the condition.
yeah. I think similarities would be so when you are diagnosed with any chronic condition, so of course you see it as a sickness, like, initially.
Yeah,
So you kind of isolate yourself, when you're in school and college and like, the prime years of your life basically. So you have suddenly so many responsibilities that you tend to like isolate or neglect your condition. So when I talk to people or like younger children like from school, they also tell me that, uh, it's too much to handle the studies and this together. They have their boards coming up. Their friends have boyfriends, they're scared to have their partners. If they'll ever end up with any partner, or like, they'll find somebody who can like really understand and accept them with this whole thing. And
yeah,
then, just juggling between the two is like really difficult. So that,
mm,
and like in that process, you really shut down and you stop talking, interacting with your friends, closed ones. That's what I have felt. Like I think during my high school years and my college years. So there are a lot of people like that who are still facing this issue because they feel ki they just don't fit in. That
mm,
feeling is there, and I think that stays for very long. Like you really need to get out of that, and first of all, you really need to find people like you. It's important, I think, in today's time, because genuinely nobody will actually understand what you are going through unless and until they also have it, like,
yeah,
but so like a community is important, of course, and outside of community also that social life is important, but to fit in that aspect takes a lot. Like
yeah,
then you tend to hide it, or you tend to like, not take care of yourself because you want to be like them. You want to
yeah,
do things what your friends are doing, what people around you are doing. So you
yeah,
tend to neglect your condition also. Like from my personal experience, I'll say I did that too. So, but later on, I realized I think it's not worth it. It's not worth my health. Like
yeah,
just to fit
yeah,
in. I think if they really need me there or like they want me there, they would accept me with this as well.
yeah, yeah,
So with time, they learn it, and I try to pass on this only that it is going to take time. Don't push it,
yeah,
but it will get better.
yeah, yeah.
So
There
that.
are a couple of interesting things you touched on. The idea that you start off seeing this as sickness, right?
Mhm.
Because um, probably majority of the people around you before you found this community aren't uh, dealing with this, and hence they're not really understanding. And the other point is this condition, typically people are finding out about it probably as, and from zero, anywhere from zero to early or late teens, right? That's where bulk of the type 1 diagnosis really happens. So when you speak with someone that is 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, somewhere there, and they're just figuring themselves out,
Yeah.
they want to fit in, like fitting in and belonging is sort of the number one priority for a young
Yeah.
adolescent at that age. So how do you even begin to have that conversation that you're not going to fit in with most of the people around you, and you'll have to go out of your way to seek people who understand what you're going through. Probably they also have the condition, or two, who have experiences uh,
Hmm.
dealing or being with people that are
Yeah.
going through the condition as well. So like what's the starting point of that conversation?
I think at that at a very young age, this 12, 13, 14, it's really young. And with something like this, uh, you tend to get mature before age. Like you really need to take control over your life suddenly.
Mm,
So one aspect to not fit in is that even the intellectual level and the maturity level does not match with your peers. So fit in aspect is just not that I have this condition and they don't have it, but I think I have more, like I have really important and like serious things to focus on rather than just talking about silly things, I'll say. Like at that age, what else you'll talk about? You'll talk about maybe eating junk, going out for movies, shopping, and all of that. So I think at that age, that is not your priority anymore. That is like, I think it's not in the picture at all. So that also affects. So I have this. I still talk to this girl who is in school. I think now she's in 10th standard, but I've been in touch with her for the last 4 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So she was at that age, and she would come and tell me that, my friends don't get it, and it's so difficult to be around them, and like, it's so, and I don't feel like talking to them. I don't have that confidence that I tell them and all that. So I said, you are 13 years old, even they are 13 years old. Now you've got this condition, and that's how your life changed, like upside down, and like your maturity level, you suddenly you're like way mature than your peers. So but they're still there, na, they're still thinking like that. They have not evolved in that way, like they can't do that, so their mindset will stay like that. They will not see this condition as big as it is, because
Mm-hmm.
they don't have the common understanding only that this is something really serious. Because
Yeah.
you can't just tell a 13-year-old person that your your friend is diagnosed with type 1. He will say, okay, like he will really not understand, and maybe he won't be interested to understand that, because that,
Yeah.
I think you don't want to take that responsibility at that age.
Yeah.
So I think that is one of the problems, and that's why I felt ki I could connect to older people, like like
Mm.
I could talk to older people, older like
Yeah.
in the sense like 7 8 years older to me or 10 years older to me, because I think because of the maturity and then that intellectual thinking, because I felt that I can't talk about things my friends are talking about. So
Yeah.
I think it's the same with those girls and boys who are recently diagnosed at that age, and so I tell them ki you need to give them that space to understand that as well, and like give it a few years, maybe they'll come around, and if they really want to be around you, they will be there in spite
Yeah.
of anything. So,
Yeah.
like, I try to be as positive as possible, because I don't want to let that person down ki, nahin, it's gonna be so difficult, and
Yeah.
you might, end up breaking your friendships and all of that. I don't want to give that idea, because the kind of friends I have, I am really blessed. So I feel everything is possible. I think the right people will really stay with you.
Mm.
So I try to give that impression that everything's gonna take time, but it's gonna be fine in the end.
Yeah. Yeah. I think in all of this, what jumps out is coming to terms with the
Mm,
coming to terms with this idea that you're going to have a very different journey. You're going to have a
yeah,
very different trajectory to the peers around you, to your friends, and
of course.
uh, maybe even coming to terms with the idea that uh, there are three ways to look at it, right? Either optimistic, that yeah, it's going to be all right, and it will be,
Mm,
but there is that period in the middle,
yeah,
probably, that there will be certain relationships, certain friendships that are not going to make it through. It's just
yeah,
the reality that
it is.
you probably cannot expect. Yeah, I mean, in your own journey, it took you longer, and you've shared that it starts with denial when you first discover this. Your whole world is suddenly changed upside down. You're feeling symptoms that the people around you have no clue about.
Yeah,
So if it takes you as a, I don't like the word patient, but someone
yeah,
going
me
through
neither.
this,
Yeah, yeah.
someone going through this feeling like their world has changed, the people around you, it takes them even longer, right?
Mm,
And for some of the friendships to be maintained, it takes these shared experiences, and now you no longer have the same kind of shared experiences to cement those friendships, to cement those relationships. So how did you, when you talk about your own journey, where you said that you've been blessed with some of these incredible people who've, I'm assuming, stayed with you through thick and thin, right? What,
Yeah,
how has your journey been through? You were what? You were 15 when you got
yeah.
to know that you had type 1 diabetes. So what was
Mm.
it like for you?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so my world changed. Like, I think my world collapsed. I was like, I had no clue what's happening to me. I remember when I was diagnosed, like, so my fasting sugar was 315. And then I think that day I called my I was in school, so my best friend, so I was telling her that I got diabetes. I just knew that much because my maternal grandmother had type 2 diabetes. So
Mm,
I linked it with that. So
yeah.
like I told her, okay, I'm sick now. Like I just felt that I'm sick now and I won't be able to eat sweets. Like whatever people come and tell you right now, which really bugs you. Really, I was just, you know, could think that much. That's it, because I didn't know what type 1 is. Like I just knew I had diabetes.
Mm,
So I was in 10th and then 11th, 12th was left. So I think through that, I was in that denial phase, of course, but I wanted to talk to somebody about, what has happened with me. I could not talk to my parents or to my siblings. I think I gave everybody this benefit of doubt. Ki they are also learning with me. They also don't know. My siblings
mm,
are my age. How will they know?
mm,
I gave this benefit of doubt to everybody around me.
mm,
And maybe that was fair or not fair to me. I don't know. But then I really wanted to like talk to somebody, and like I tried a couple of times during my school years, and I think the third or the fourth time I uh remember my friend telling me that you only talk about this, so I think that took me back to my bubble. Like, now I can't
yeah.
talk about it because I think she feels burdened that I only talk about that. And like, I don't want to do that. Why should I take my problem to my friends and like share that with them? So I think, again, for like the next couple of years, I was like, "Ki, I can't talk about, like, I would like tell people that I have this condition, but I would not talk, I would not, uh, be like so courageous to talk about it. What is it? Like, I would just start crying about it. Like, whoever
Mm,
would ask me, what is it? How are you feeling? And all of that. I would be like, uh, okay, I can't talk. And I would just start crying. So that happened for a lot of years because
mm,
of that one incident. I still remember that because, of course, it stayed with me.
yeah.
So then when I went to college, I'm still friends with these people, but I'm not as close as I was in school. So in college, when I met this new bunch, uh, on the very first day, I told them that I have this condition, but nothing more than that. And then the first 3 years of my bachelor's, I was in depression, which I got to know later that I was in depression. So I didn't really get to know them. I didn't really spend time with them, like, out of college.
Mm,
And I think by the end of seventh semester, I started feeling better. Like I just knew that, I think I want to go out. I want to experience, new things with them. And I think the whole semester, um, one semester it took me to like come closer to them. So I think out of 8 semester, only one semester I spent with them.
yeah.
So because I think I was out of depression, and but after that COVID happened. But
Mm,
from then till today, they are there with me. Like even when I go to them and just, I just want to rant one day, na. Like I just want to like I'm done with it and like, this is happening. They try to listen. They are just there to listen. And maybe
Yeah,
that's what I wanted back then also.
yeah,
So I held a diabetes meetup group for the first time. And two of my friends out of these three people, they showed up just to help and support. So, malab, they didn't have to, but they did. So I think these small gestures, I think it means a lot to us. Like you don't
yeah,
have to, but you are willing to do it.
yeah,
And now they are like they do like they really care about me. They don't show all the time and they don't bombard me with you can't do this and that and But I think but I know now like they talk among themselves and they're like really concerned about me when I'm like going like sometimes I'm like in this mood. I tell them that I don't feel like meeting you or like
yeah,
um I need some space. So they give me that space. There's no,
yeah,
why are you doing this? And you being rude and all of that. I think they've made peace with this. And
yeah,
it really helps me to be around them and to be myself with them. Like
yeah,
if we're going out, they will adjust, what we're eating, what time we're eating, what we're
mm,
drinking.
yeah,
So I think they're very considerate in that manner, and I'm like really grateful that in today's time I have these people I can like, depend on.
yeah,
So
yeah, for
yeah,
sure, for sure.
yeah,
That's beautiful because, um, yeah, especially college, you made some of these friends in college, and again, not unlike high school, where again you're still trying to belong, you're still trying to find more and more time with people, or you're forming these relationships, and it's pretty easy to think that, oh, you've not seen them for 6 or 7 semesters, and obviously you're going through this
yeah,
depression, and they still stick by you after you've taken the time in one semester to really spend time with them. That's amazing.
yeah.
um, you talked about this phase, and do you think that it's unavoidable? Do you think feeling low, feeling depressed, feeling like no one understands you, um, is unavoidable for someone who is 13, 14, and especially when they've not found this community of people, right? What you're trying to do is build voices, be the voice for those people who are just about
Yeah.
figuring out, and also dealing with this throughout on a daily basis. Uh, but do you think some of these things are unavoidable, or how can we do better job at making sure that the support is something that tangible and they can feel it? So some of the burdens that they go on feeling on a daily basis is felt less.
I feel because you spend most of the time at home with your parents and teachers, um, I feel it's important for them to understand first. Like, I think my parents didn't understand that maybe with a chronic condition, this mental health is going to be affected. So I feel parents should be like well aware. The doctors should give them this heads up. Nobody tells you. Like the doctor will not come and tell you ki your son and your daughter has got this, and maybe they'll go through these changes, emotional turmoil. They will not prepare you for that. And how can you read about it? Like when you don't know it, it's gonna happen. So I think
Yeah,
that information should be like given when that child is being diagnosed. So that will help you. I think your siblings, your parents, uh, leave the extended family, the relatives, and all of that. But I think uh, I think if you have a real sibling and if you have like understanding parents, I think that will solve half the problems because you'll have
yeah,
somebody they'll understand. If you are coming back from school and you're telling them I'm not feeling good today, and these thoughts are coming in my mind, and but you have that confidence that you can go to your parents and talk about it. So, l- like me, I did not have that space. So I think that to create that space, it's parents' responsibility, or like I won't say if your friends' responsibilities because they're the same age as you. But
Yeah,
I think your parents can play a better role in handling this, not just physically being present there, but uh, being there for your emotional um, journey as well. So
yeah,
even the doctors should be involved in this, and maybe if the child is okay and comfortable, counseling should be there.
yeah,
Therapy should be there from the very beginning, so that
yeah,
the child feels that it's the part of recovery or taking care of himself or herself. It's like the part of the treatment,
yeah,
whatever it is. So it should not come on like that. Okay, now you have this problem. Let's go see a therapist. It should
yeah,
just be there from the beginning. So I
yeah,
think
yeah,
that can really help the, newer diagnosis and newer generation who are being dealing with any chronic condition for that matter.
yeah, yeah. It does. I'm not surprised by the fact that the role of a doctor is seems limited, right?
Hmm.
They're there to basically hand you, okay, here's the condition you have, and they may provide very little to no help in how to go forward
Yeah.
with it. Not
Yeah.
from a treatment perspective, but more the how to manage your life around this, right? The emotional toil, the mental toil, the mood swings, right?
Mood
Um,
swing. You're gonna hit puberty. That, like,
yeah,
everything. Yeah.
yeah. So it does seem like it a holistic solution is required, right? Where
Mm.
your doctor is now partnering with you as well
Mm.
as the people that are closest to you to
Yeah.
really educate them, you and them, in how
Yes.
to deal with this, and also walk side by side, right? Because this is not something that you just figure out in a month's time, in 2 months' time. It takes a while. It takes
It
a
takes
while,
a
and it takes
while.
toll. It takes
Yeah.
toll on the person who is going through this, and the people that are not fully aware of how to deal with this either.
Yeah. So of course a 13-year-old would not know what is it. And like how many things can he like, remember? I remember maintaining charts, taking insulin doses, adjusting doses according to what I'm eating, at what time I'm eating, if I'm sleeping, what if I go low, all of that. All of that. Like, how do you expect a 13-year-old to do that by itself? And
Yeah,
uh, I think I think it could be like a group therapy or like a group counseling session, like where parents and siblings just are taught that how you can just be there with them, like, and they won't feel alone. So I
yeah,
think that will take that burden off the child key. Yes, I think maybe because my parents are so supportive, my siblings are so supportive, maybe I can do it. So I think
yeah,
that confidence comes from there. The base
yeah,
is set at home.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And with the doctors. My doctor was like, touchwood, he was like really good. He's been like really good since the beginning. So I recommend that doctor to everybody like I come across in
No,
Delhi.
that's pretty good. That's
Yeah.
pretty good. How important is it, going back to this idea that um, you start to see yourself as sick, right? How important is it to create that reframe at some point? I would imagine that you can't go on living thinking of yourself as quote unquote sick, because
Yeah.
it, that's not how it is. In reality, it's just something that you are um, it's I don't even know how to frame it, but it's definitely not a sickness. Just because you are living a different life, you have a different set of biological what is it, internals, does not really mean that you can be considered quote unquote sick, because that doesn't help anybody.
Yeah, yeah, it does not. I think it just makes you feel, takes you in that zone, like, so chronic condition is like it's going to stay forever. So like calling yourself sick is like you're calling yourself sick for the rest of your life.
Yeah,
So how do you expect with that mindset to come out of that? You can't. So first of all, that needs to be
yeah,
changed. So
yeah,
over the years, I learned that it's a lifestyle condition.
yeah,
You need to adapt it, and maybe that needs to be over time. Of course, it's gonna take time, but just making conscious choices, and that you'll be able to do it. Like certain things you need to add into your life,
yeah,
and this is what it is about. It is not an illness, it is not a sickness. It is just a lifestyle condition where I think you are making healthier choices than most of your friends and family members. I think I
yeah,
feel I make really conscious choices when I'm eating outside or like what I'm doing. And when I see my friends, like, being so careless about what they're putting in their stomach. So
yeah,
now I can't do that. Like, I'm conditioned in that way that I won't be able to do that. Like, I can't just eat pizza anytime I want.
yeah,
So it's just my decision about myself. So when I learned that it's a lifestyle condition and I just need to like be, careful and conscious about things I do, uh, that's when things started getting better. And I didn't like myself, like, calling myself sick. And like, even when I go to the doctor, I don't like being called patient. So
yeah,
these terms, like matlab it's like I'm not a patient.
yeah,
I'm not sick. So I eliminated these things from my own mind first. And then
yeah,
like I like uh so there are only two options. Either I, you know, be in my room all my life and cry about like, this has happened to me. Okay, my life is over. Or I accept the fact that this is going nowhere. This is going
mm,
to stay. So
yeah,
I better take this in my control and move on with my life. Do things, of course, at its own pace, but with that, carry on with my life and do things I always wanted to do. So of course,
yeah,
the latter sounds better. I didn't want to be in that space ever again. And
yeah,
there are times when I slip back there, but then I immediately understand that, that's happening to me and I want to come out of that. I
yeah,
don't want to
yeah,
be in that. Some people are like, we have depression and it's so difficult, but I don't want to be there. I want
yeah,
to come out of it. I don't want to feel that, this is happening to me because it's really bad.
yeah, yeah,
So I think I choose to live my life to the fullest. Of course, it gets little challenging, but I don't think it's impossible.
yeah, yeah.
So,
I
yeah,
mean, you're overcoming, or you're moving higher than feeling like you're a victim, or you've been
yeah,
victimized with
yeah,
this idea, because um, it's easy. I think feeling pity for yourself might feel good for a moment,
no,
because
I think it's the worst you could think of yourself. Like, self-pity
it
is
is.
like self-harm.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Um, it, it gives you a moment of solace, right? Just one moment, because it makes you feel that whatever you're feeling, even the feeling of helpless is justified, because you've been given this. But um, living that way is probably not healthier in the long term, and especially if you want to maintain, I would say, a healthy relationship with yourself. Like, it
yeah,
starts with yourself,
exactly. It
right?
starts with you.
uh,
Hmm.
and I don't think it does anybody justice, starting with yourself. So now you've been going through this for what, the last 12, 13 odd years,
11
right?
years. 11. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll be completing 12 years this year.
Okay, some 12 years now.
Mm.
So obviously there have been a lot of learnings over these years. What are some of the things that you know now, that you would have wished that maybe you would have known earlier? Obviously, acknowledging the fact that there is a learning curve with experience, that you get to know
Yeah,
with experience, but what are some of the things that you would have liked to understand a bit better in terms of how you go through your days?
I think now my body really understands when I'm going low. So I think that understanding between my mind and my body was not there. So I feel that was there, and that with everything you eat or you do, you need to change the dosage. I think that changing of doses takes a lot. Like you get really lazy to do it. But that time I used to be so dependent on my doctor. So whatever dose he has set, only I'm allowed to be in that capacity. So I didn't know like I can change it according to my needs, and how my body is reacting. And that I know now. And over the years, I understand how the weather affects me, my blood sugar levels, how the hormonal changes during periods, and PMSing and all of that changes. And so I didn't know any of it back then. And over the years, I understood that if I'm eating a slice of pizza or if I'm eating um, an egg, there's a vast difference of like, that this would need maybe 2 units of insulin and this would not need any insulin because I understood how protein reacts to my body. So I didn't know back then ki what kind of food and is impacting and in what way. So
Mm.
when I was living in Goa for 2 years, I realized that so I would eat a lot of seafood, and I just realized that uh, I'm ending up low only, like again and again, because I'm used to taking insulin according to what I do, and I realized that I don't need that kind of insulin. I maybe don't need extra insulin like bolus because the protein is doing magic with my levels.
Yeah,
So I learned that. I wish I knew back then that,
yeah,
protein is like fish is magic. Like if one food is there that's magic for us, it's fish.
yeah,
So Uh, yeah, that and like the weather, when I step out in the sun, I will, my sugar level will spike. I did not know back then, and I would just be like, oh my God, my head is hurting, this is happening. And like, the technological changes that has happened over the years, uh, they were existing back then also, but it was not, in mass. So I didn't know about that as well. So I think these things really do help you manage your levels, manage your
yeah,
condition. So it would have been easier if I had these things and understanding that time. But
yeah,
it's fine. I think everything takes time, and I had my own journey, and I learned. I learn every day. I feel like
yeah,
so. It gets exhausting also, but I'm glad I know these things now.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I think also, like you mentioned, you've got to experiment. Like certain
Mm.
food will affect you in a different way compared to someone who also has, a type
Yeah.
1
Exactly.
condition, right? So as much as you can probably pass over some of these teachings, and that would be very helpful, but they would also have to go out and figure it out for themselves. I think what would probably be helpful is the idea of being flexible with your
Mm.
insulin, given what you're consuming, what the
Yeah.
weather is, what kind of activity
You're doing.
you're doing for the day as well. I'm assuming that. So one thing is protein, the level of protein. Obviously, it's not just for a type 1 person, but for anybody,
In
the,
general,
the
yeah.
response the response of blood glucose levels to protein seems magical, right?
Yeah.
It almost seems like it's some sort of magical pill for people who are going through um, not just type 1 but even for type 2, where you're trying to maintain your blood sugar levels, and protein is really helping you maintain that. And I think what you've mentioned is some of the high protein foods you may not even need to take
Yeah,
insulin, because you're
absolutely.
not really spiking your blood sugar as much where you need insulin, right?
Yeah.
Assuming the same thing with your level of activity, right? How have you come to understand your days and how active your days are, and how much insulin you need to take?
I think usually I take thir 30 to 32 units a day, like including basal and bolus, because I'm on a pump. So yeah. But like if I am going out, or like I have a party, or like I have an outing, or I'm eating outside, so some of the food I'm still not able to crack. So that's when I need to, like, increase my dose, or like split my insulin dosage. Like either I take square bolus or split square bolus, like that. So
And and
but
and, and I have no idea of these terms, so you help
I will
me
tell you.
understand these terms
Yeah.
as well.
So that also I learned over the years. Okay, if I'm eating Asian food, that is going to take you low first, and then it's gonna spike. So I don't take if I'm taking, suppose, 4 units for the whole dinner, I will not take it right away. Like, it should not be fast acting at that same moment. So, on the pump, you have these features, square bolus and split square bolus, where you can adjust your dose. Like, suppose I have set 4 units as split square bolus, and I have divided 2 units, 2 and 2 units. So 2 units will be delivered to me that time, and 2 units would be delivered to me after an hour, or like,
Okay.
in half an hour. In the span of an hour, it is going to get delivered. So basically, like,
Okay.
little insulin, like with the spike. So I think it helps to manage the spike, because when it's time to spike, even your insulin is acting. So they're happening it together. So over the period of time, I learned that. So that helped, because taking that insulin at that very moment will, end you up in low. So for these kind of food, or even pizza, I take square bolus.
Yeah.
So square bolus is like, you can like just adjust your 3 units for an hour. So 3 units will go in the span of an hour. So
Okay.
that really helps. Yeah.
Okay. So the way this pump is, it's attached to you, and
Yeah.
and then depending on whether the setting is on square bolus or split square bolus, it will inject the insulin that's in the vial, I'm assuming, or what is it? Like, how
Yeah.
does it?
It's a cannula. Like, so it's pricked to my stomach.
Okay.
So, and I'll just show you this. The pump looks like this. So,
Okay.
it's connecting with the insulin
Got it.
going via this.
Got it. Got it.
So,
So
yeah.
the pump is the one where you're inputting the settings as well, right?
Yeah.
Uh, and adjusting how much insulin and the timing of the insulin as well.
Yeah. So that has
Okay.
really helped.
Okay.
Like, it's really flexible, Even when maybe you're consuming alcohol, I don't consume alcohol like otherwise, but like sometimes if I have beer, so that helps to manage that as well, because it has carbs.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, pump is like a blessing.
Got it. Got
Yeah.
it. I mean, I'm assuming that people are using different kinds of devices as well to
Hmm.
manage their condition. And so, what would you recommend after having tried, I'm assuming, some different devices over the years?
So, when I was diagnosed, I was put on pens, insulin, like that injections, pens,
Yeah.
which I would, I think, At that time, I would inject myself 6 to 7 times a day before every meal. But right after a month, my doctor suggested insulin pump.
Okay.
So right after 1 month, I was shifted on a pump. So I
Okay.
really don't have that experience with the pens.
Okay.
So and that's why I was saying that my doctor was like a blessing to me because he exposed me to all the new technology that had come that time.
Okay.
So I was on the pump. I am on the pump since then, and I have used these sensors, Libre Pro sensors, and there's a transmitter that's called Meow Meow. So that's like a Chinese product, but what it does is like you put the Libre Pro sensor, that is a CGM, and then you put the transmitter over it. So you have your levels on your phone, 24/7. So it's
Yeah.
very easy to track that, now maybe you're going low or you're going high. So you can act before it is too low or too high. Like, you
Mm.
see the graph going up, so you will take insulin. You see the graph going low, so you will eat something before it ends up in a massive low. So I think that really helped me manage my HbA1c.
Yeah.
So, and when I'm traveling, so that has helped me when I'm traveling. So that I think a lot of people are using that sensor now. But there are
Yeah.
different companies and brands that are like
Yeah.
coming up with these sensors and technologies. Some are like
Yeah.
really expensive and some are like okay, but like uh not everybody can afford it because they're really expensive.
Yeah.
One sensor now costs up to 3,000 rupees. That only works for 14 days.
Yeah.
But from my personal experience, sometimes you skip, pricking manually. You don't want to. So
Yeah.
you just like fine, like leave it. Like I've done it. I still do it. Like I don't check my sugar levels when I'm not on sensor for a couple of days. I'm like, I'll leave it. Like fine. I feel
Yeah.
fine, so I should be fine.
Yeah.
But that sensor really helps you to see like and make certain changes maybe.
Yeah.
Sometimes your
Yeah.
insulin sensitivity is high, sometimes your insulin resistance is high. So
Yeah.
these terms I understood like I think 3 4 years back only. So
Mm.
that graphs helps you understand your days. Okay, now I think you see a pattern, so you adjust your dose accordingly. So I
Yeah.
think both go hand in hand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
For sure. When you talked about insulin resistance and sensitivity, also I think depending on which part of the menstrual cycle you're in, you
Yeah,
will have different insulin sensitivity and resistance. So I
yeah.
think especially for women, it's
Mm.
even more important to understand how their body over a 4 week cycle is responding to insulin, differently to the same foods, to the same time. It could just be
Yeah,
a different insulin intake that you may have to take, right?
yeah. Sometimes you don't have to take insulin at all because your sensitivity is too high. And
Yeah,
I think that's when I get tired of eating. I'm eating and eating and eating and nothing's happening. Like, I have to suspend my pump. Suspension is that when the insulin stops going to your body.
yeah,
So there are days like that also. So
yeah,
of course you get to eat what you want, but it takes a lot of energy out of you.
yeah. I
You are
can
in not
imagine.
that state to function on a regular basis, like because you're so tired, like all the time
Yeah,
you're low only, so there's no energy in your body left. You're just eating,
yeah,
sleeping, eating, sleeping, and it gets
yeah,
really irritating, I must tell you. But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I learned that as well.
No, I can imagine. Like you mentioned, how protein acts on your body and it keeps you more stable. Are there some other like hacks that you found for yourself where if there are days that you are low, your blood sugar is low for reasons, for example, if the level of insulin that you've pumped into your body is higher than what you would have required otherwise, are there ways that you found that help you to manage or understand days like this better?
I think I understand that maybe the insulin sensitivity is higher these days. Like I understand that concept now.
Mm.
So I reduce my basal, which is going 24/7. I reduce that. So,
Okay.
and I try to add more carbs in my diet because if I'm only eating protein, it's not going to help. So I have to have carbs on those days.
Yeah.
So and sometimes I'm really fond of eating sweets. So I order waffles or like things I would not usually eat. But now at those on those days I know like I am anyway going to go low. So I
Yeah.
might as well enjoy it.
Yeah.
So like I eat carbs and sweets more than usual, but of course keeping in mind that it should not spike. But I think a couple of days sensitivity stays high and
Yeah.
I have to put in carbs. So I think that is it. Like, and I avoid going out or like drive because I know if I go low while driving, it will, hamper my decision making and all of that.
Yeah.
So I think that awareness with your mind and with your body is really important. So I think I've
Yeah.
cracked that. And that
Yeah.
helps me to you make these decisions when I need to adjust my insulin, increase carbs or fibers or protein in my diet. So when
Yeah.
I am when my insulin resistance is high around my period, that's when I eat more protein. So that's how I keep changing my diet because of my body requirement. I feel I think I give priority to my body need.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
yeah
No, that makes sense. And one of the things I think we spoke about when we connected earlier is this idea of how much insulin one person takes versus how much insulin someone else is taking, like this idea of comparing. Um, can you help me understand or help someone who's watching that
yeah.
why it's probably unhealthy to compare how much you're taking or what you're doing basically to manage your condition versus what someone else might be doing?
I think it's very toxic that you compare your dosage with somebody else because your body type is different. Your body requirement is different. So I think I have told this to hundreds of people that you should not be comparing so they would come and ask me how many insulin units you take a day. And I usually don't put numbers on my Instagram because I know what's gonna happen. She's taking only 30 units. So, and I am taking 50 units. That's bad. They feel taking more insulin is bad. So that idea should like leave your mind. Like it should not be there in your head that taking insulin is bad. It's not. It's a hormone. It's just that people who do not have diabetes or type 1 diabetes, um, their body is not producing it, so you're just taking it externally. Even like people like who do not have the condition, their body is making insulin. So it's a hormone that our body needs. So I tell them that you need to stop comparing your dosage or your, uh, food intake with me because maybe your body requires that much, insulin. Your activities are different from mine. And sometimes, like I think I remember one guy like coming to me and asking me that I take 55 units a day and I feel it's a lot. So I told him, I think you're an athletic and or like, you work out a lot. I think he's into working out. So sometimes your body also react differently when you're working out. It's not necessarily that it will bring your levels down. It might spike as well. So, and because of working out, you eat that much and you are way taller, like you have a good build. I am very petite. I'm very tiny. So of course there's gonna be a difference. So
Yeah.
the reason why I left some of the diabetes groups were that because they would compare their HbA1cs their insulin dosages. See, I am taking this much for a waffle and he is taking only this much. So that would become a, how come he is taking less and I am taking more? So they would automatically consider it to be bad.
Yeah.
So I just want to tell people that it is not bad. Even if you are taking 60 units a day, it's not bad. It's something your body really needs. If you will not take it, you will end up in a much critical situation. So
Yeah.
my own friend, so I am going out my during like a sunny day, my sugars will spike up. Her sugars drop.
Yeah.
So there's a difference now, how your body is reacting to the environment
Yeah. Yeah.
and in what space you're living. If you're living in an exotic place, like if you're living in Goa or suppose Thailand, of course your dosage will be different than if you're living in mountains. So
Yeah.
that also matters. They don't understand the basic concept that it is different body to body.
Yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
understand. And I try to tell this that even if I put something, if I put this hack that fish helps me or protein helps me manage my HbA1c and lows, but I always mention that this is from my personal experience. I would
Yeah.
recommend you try it first and
Yeah.
see how it helps you. I
Yeah.
just don't uh, you know just tell them that this is it.
Yeah.
I just recommend.
Yeah.
I never impose what I'm doing is right. What I'm doing is right for me, just for
Yeah.
me. What you are doing is right for you. So I think that is really important. If you are watching this podcast, please understand that it's fine whether you're taking 20 units or 40 units. Both are fine. Nothing is right or wrong here. Both are
Yeah.
right, I feel.
Yeah.
So
I mean, at the end
please,
of the day, it
mm,
comes down to managing your
yeah,
specific day, your specific week, your specific body type.
of course.
And and then all one can do is really like what you're doing is sharing your learnings along the way. So if someone is watching this, and like you mentioned, you mentioned seafood, on the days that you're probably a little bit more insulin resistant,
Mm,
take foods that are not are higher in protein or things like that. But
yeah,
again, this comes down to your experience and your results. Of course, they will have to take whatever you're suggesting and then apply it to their life, their body, and see how their body is reacting and how much they need to. I think with everything that you've spoken about, especially in terms of managing the condition, there is essentially an asterisk to that, which
yeah,
means that you've got to really figure it out yourself. All
yeah,
this knowledge is the starting point,
yeah,
right? To helping you understand how certain things are affecting one way or another. But really, then it comes down to, okay, what does this really mean to me, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we've spent almost an hour talking about
Mhm.
really the different realities of managing and understanding type 1 diabetes. I think there are many areas that we still need to explore. There are
Yeah,
many issues that we need to dive into, and I think there's probably going to be a need for a second conversation, a more
definitely. Mhm.
dive into different issues. But I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you giving your time, and I'm 100% sure I think this conversation is just a starter.
Yeah,
Um, and I think the really the takeaways for someone that is this is the first time for me interacting with someone who's managing this on a day-to-day basis, is just the unsaid things, the invisible things, the
invisible
things that
thing.
happen in the mind, in the emotions, that are probably alleviated a little bit with support. But
Yeah,
yeah, you've got to probably change your mindset along the way as you're going through your days as well.
or of course, of course. And I would just like to say one thing that uh, it is not caused because of eating too much sweet. It's not. It's a
Yeah,
myth.
yeah.
So people
And
assume
I
that you
think,
must have eaten a lot of sweet when you were a child. I was like, no, that is not it. And it's not the same as your grandmother's diabetes. So leave us alone.
yeah. That's a good way to end this. Well, thank
Yeah.
you once again, Anuruti,
Thank you for
for being
having
on.
me. I
Absolutely.
shall see you again.
Yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah,
think
I would like to have
you
you.
ended this.
Yeah, I would like you to have more questions for me next time. Like, more. Like, I would like to share as many things I can. Like, so
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
wonderful.
we definitely will. I think like you do insulin series. I mean, who's to stop us from creating a
Yeah.
series out of this and having having deeper conversations on some of this. I mean, you ended you end you your ending point was really on myths, right? So
Yeah.
I'm sure that there is a lot of myths that we have to track when it comes to type 1 diabetes, and I think this is going to benefit both the people who are managing through this, but really also the ones that are supporting some of these lifestyles and conversations as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hope so. Yeah.
yeah, for sure, for sure. But thanks for doing this, and I know there's going to be many conversations, and I'm glad that I mean the community aspect really. I think uh, we used to feel in older times your community was the people around you, but that's no longer the only community that's available to you,
Yeah.
right? It's also the people that are going through similar issues,
Yeah.
either they're supporting them or they're actually dealing with them themselves. Those people are extremely important in how well you're able to manage your mental health, your emotional health,
Yeah, that really
your
helps
mood swings,
actually.
things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. They just lift you up, if you're putting something out, like, you have a low day or a bad day. There are
Yeah,
people texting you, like, and it just makes you feel better. I
yeah,
think it's so selfless. When you are dealing with something like this now and you are a part of this community, you really become selfless.
yeah,
And you have so much love to give. Like, I have so much love and help and support to give to the community that
yeah,
I'm still working on it. I'm working on a personal project for them. So let's see. I hope everything turns out to be really well. And it was great, great having this conversation with you. I loved talking about type 1 diabetes and everything in general. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, for sure. Especially when it's something that you're passionate about. I mean, you radiate with that. So this idea you talked about, that the selfless giving,
Mm,
that comes naturally, right? It
yeah.
comes out of deep empathy, deep compassion for
Yeah.
people going through, this idea that you would have liked to have the same kind of support if someone is
Yeah.
feeling the way you would have felt at some point. And I think it's only human if you're oriented towards being there for somebody else, regardless of
Yeah.
whether there is some sort of benefit or not.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm,
Okay, Anurati, thank you so
mm.
much.
Thank
And
you.
I'm sure we will continue the dialogue and keep doing what you're doing on
Thank
Instagram. I'm following you, and hopefully I get to learn more about it as well.
you. Definitely. I'll see you again.